Ever since I started tinkering with my own classic car restoration projects, there's always that nagging question at the back of my mind. Am I going to waste hard-earned cash on a lift that just won't fit in my garage, or that can't hold the weight I need? It's a real pain point, especially when you've already put in a decent amount of effort to clear space for a shop setup and you don't want another piece of equipment taking up more room than it should. If you're standing in the same spot trying to decide whether a 4-post car lift is the right move for your home garage or small workshop, this review is for you. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's start by talking about the kind of space you actually have. The Triumph NSS 8 is designed with a fairly compact footprint for an 8,000-pound lift, a drive-through width of 93 inches and a runway length of 165 inches. In plain English, that means you can drive a typical mid-size sedan right through the lift, park it on the lower level, and raise the upper platform without needing a massive concrete slab. If your garage is around 12 feet wide and you have a ceiling that can accommodate a total height of roughly 9 feet, you'll probably be able to fit this unit without major structural changes. That's a big part of the value proposition, maximizing your vertical garage space without turning it into a cramped maze. Now, who really benefits from this lift? If you're a hobbyist who does occasional maintenance, changing brakes, swapping tires, maybe doing a quick engine tune, this lift gives you a level of convenience that a hydraulic floor jack simply can't match. The ability to store a car on the upper platform while keeping another car or a set of tools below turns what would be a single-car garage into a functional 2-car workspace. That's especially handy if you have a project car and a daily driver. On the flip side, if you're a full-time professional mechanic who needs to lift heavier trucks, SUVs, or even light commercial vehicles on a regular basis, the 8,000-pound rating might feel limiting. The lift is certainly built to handle most passenger cars and light trucks, but anything over that capacity will be out of scope, and you'd risk stressing the frame. Let's walk through a real-world scenario. Imagine you've just finished a full engine rebuild on a 1998 Camaro and you want to get under the car to inspect the suspension mounts. With a floor jack, you'd be constantly readjusting, dealing with uneven ground, and worrying about the jack slipping. With the Triumph NSS 8, you simply drive the car onto the lower platform, raise the upper deck, and you have a stable, static height that lets you work hands-free. The platform's 84-inch overall height means you still have enough clearance to fit most shop lights and a workbench above the lift, assuming you've installed the right lighting. That practical advantage is what separates a nice-to-have lift from a genuinely useful one. But there are hidden trade-offs you need to consider. The lift's runway length of 165 inches sounds generous, yet you'll quickly notice that you need to align the car precisely before moving it onto the platform. The guide rails are not motorized. This is a manually operated hydraulic system, so the learning curve can be a bit steep if you've never handled a 4-post lift before. In my experience, the first couple of times feel a bit like trying to dock a ship. You have to inch the vehicle forward, watch the alignment markers, and make tiny adjustments. Once you get the hang of it, the process becomes routine, but it's not as plug-and-play as a hydraulic scissor lift that can be raised with a foot pedal. Another practical weakness shows up when you consider the height of the upper platform. At 84 inches, the lift can accommodate most passenger cars, but a taller vehicle, say a Jeep Wrangler with a lifted suspension, might scrape the top of the platform when you're trying to raise it fully. The official specs list the maximum vertical clearance, but they don't detail the exact headroom tolerance for unusually tall vehicles. If you own a lowrider or a high ground clearance truck, you'll want to measure the distance from the ground to the highest point of the vehicle before buying. In my own garage, I had to raise the lower deck slightly before pulling a lifted Toyota Tacoma onto the upper deck, which added an extra step I hadn't anticipated. Let's talk durability and maintenance, because those are often the hidden costs. The lift's hydraulic system uses standard oil and comes with a pressure gauge, so routine checks are fairly straightforward. However, the manuals I've seen suggest changing the hydraulic fluid every 1,000 hours of operation, something you might overlook if you only use the lift a few times a month. If you're a seasonal DIYer, you may never hit that threshold, but it's still a maintenance item to keep in mind. The frame.